So, welcome back, students. Now is our first section with our MOOC unit on an overview of Tamshui. So, first of all, I'm really curious because the other instructor, Paul, is also the writer of the whole unit. So I'm curious, Paul, just out of so many towns and cities in Taiwan, why would you pick Tamshui as the subject for the unit?
Well, I think I picked that area because it's so popular among both Taiwanese and foreigners. If you were to ask some Taiwanese about Tamshui, or even some foreigners about Tamshui, they would say, yes, I know about it, or I've been there before. So it's an area that many people in Taiwan know about. If I were to say other areas in Taiwan, maybe some might know about it, some might not. But the Tamshui area is a very well-known area. And I think it's an area that when I wrote the unit, I would think students or just people listening would have a good background knowledge already of Tamshui. But now they can hear some English and connect what they already know to the English, and it would help improve their English speaking ability in that area. Also, I think when Taiwanese talk to foreigners, this is a good topic to talk about. I think you can discuss this back and forth. Say, hey, have you ever been to Tamshui? Yeah, what did you see? What did you do? Because I think a lot of foreigners enjoy going to this area and doing a lot of different activities. So this is a great way to spend some time having conversations with people and see that they have something in common. So I think that's two reasons there. There's another reason is that I've been to Tamshui, I don't know, at least several times. And I mean, there's a lot that goes on there. It's a pretty active place. Well, first of all, as I wrote in the little unit, there's a lot of places to see. And you can walk around and spend, the whole day just checking out the area, no problem. And like I said, the Althenia University, the one you mentioned before we started videotaping, St. John's University, but there's other areas, the McKay Trail. Of course, everyone goes there for the sunset. The sunset is beautiful along Tamshui. A lot of people go there, like around 6 o'clock or so when the sun starts setting. You'll see big crowds going in. And the food, that's another reason they go there. There's all these little shops everywhere. They sell all kinds of different things. And it's a great place for people to hang out and just eat whatever. It seems like, if you want it, it's there somehow. And so there's so much that goes on in this area. I think it's a fun place for people to hang out and to do all kinds of different things. There's so much that goes on in this area. It's like there's all these little cultures mixing together and all these different people mixing together. And different kinds, like I said, food and activities. It seems to be what we call a mishmash, kind of like a mixing of all kinds of different things that happen in this area.
So I think that's the point, because now we get the MRT system, so it's really easy to get to Tamshui. And even for foreigners, they can just take the MRT and they can arrive right in Tamshui within maybe 40 minutes from the Taipei main train station. So it's really convenient. And also, as I mentioned, there are like several universities, including Tankang University. I also searched the web. They even provide a local tour guide, Chinese Mandarin lesson that's by local students for foreigners. But they will charge you New Taiwan dollars 1,500 for 1 day's tour in the Tamshui area. So that tour will include like the fort that we mentioned in our main reading, and also the local tour, maybe it's a student or a Mandarin, a Chinese teacher will let you to see maybe like the statues of Dr. McKay, about his traces I think there are at least like 3 different statues of him in the Tamshui area.
Yeah, I think so.
And also, I think it's an interesting area that reflects the religious or cultural background that really mix up cultural background in Taiwan.
Yep, yep.
So you can probably find not another one like this area with so many religious traces.
Yeah, that makes it unique. It does. And going back to the transportation, like I've actually went there a couple times by bicycle. There's actually bicycle trails that go right along. And I've spent like a couple hours just bicycling along the whole area, and it's been a lot of fun like that. And there's also the ferries. The ferries go to the wharf. So there's all kinds of ways, the different ways to get around. And the cultural thing is interesting, and the religious thing, because it shows the development of what has gone on in this area. And it does make it unique, because where else in Taiwan do you see this kind of activity take place? This kind of, all this stuff that happens in an area like this. I don't know, maybe you know, but I don't know anywhere else in Taiwan where you can get this broadness, of cultural, religious, just a broad spectrum of different things in one area. And maybe you have to pay 1,500 NT, which is about 50 American dollars, but I mean, for the whole tour and see the whole thing, I think is worth it. I actually never done it, but now that you bring it up, maybe it would have been a good idea for me to go and actually pay 1,500 NT and see the whole thing with a guide. They could, I wouldn't understand the Chinese, but I can always get it translated from people that I know, and I think I would learn a lot. Yeah.
So I think when the 2 countries or 3 countries, the European countries, when they became interested in Taiwan, we call that Formosa by the Spanish around that period of time. They were thinking about doing trades with other Asian countries like Indonesia.
Yep.
So they are trying to use the main ports in Taiwan. So like Tamshui, and then other one would be in Tainan. So if you go to Tainan City, I think you can also see some traces, like you mentioned, we get different time periods or different rulers. Upon there. And interestingly, for the Europeans, when they try to occupy this place, they will build something like a castle or a fort. And so the architecture style will be totally different from the local buildings.
Right.
So I think that would be a really interesting thing, and to trace the history traces. Actually, I think when Dr. McKay tried to settle down in Tamshui, because there was already someone else doing the pastoring in Tainan area.
Probably,
Sure. He decided to use Tamshui area as his main focus.
Yeah.
So I guess that's about the end of our first discussion section. So at the end of the discussion section, we'll have 2 questions to ask you all. So Paul, can you start with your first question?
My first question would be, can you name a couple things that I mentioned in the conversation, a couple ways, actually think of 3 ways that I mentioned in the conversation of how you can actually get to Tamshui, from other parts of Taipei.
And I also mentioned there are 2 ports or 2 places in Taiwan that attracts foreigners to settle down, which would be the other place that Western foreigners are interested in. So that's our questions for the first section. See you.